to the human heart than its opposite.
The Bishop of Banjul, the Most Reverend Robert P. Ellison, CSSP, for his part, focused largely on the drive to consign poverty to the history books.
A worldwide campaign was launched to put an end to the evil of poverty. I can remember the words of the slogan, which could be found on posters, banners, and small tags pinned to our clothing. These words read, "Make Poverty History 2015. It said, "Make Poverty History 2015. In other words, can we try and put an end to the awful poverty of our world by the year 2015? This great surge of concern for the poor and oppressed was linked to a special message of Blessed Pope John Paul II for the Jubilee year 2000, the opening of the third millennium. Now, he said, is the time for a new creativity, a new initiative in charity, not only by ensuring that the poor may have something to eat, but also by getting close to those who suffer in this way. By doing so, the hand that helps is seen not simply as a humiliating handout, but as a sharing among brothers and sisters in the one human family of God, where the poor can feel at home. If we think seriously about such a challenge, we are tempted to say that those words of Blessed Pope John Paul II are indeed very desirable, but in reality they are more like a dream. The very fact that the beautiful slogan, "Make Poverty History 2015, seems to have gone up in smoke, proves in a certain sense that we find ourselves helpless in the face of such enormous undertakings, even where there is a lot of goodwill.
Still on those messages from the heads of the three main Christian denominations in the Gambia, the Most Reverend Hannah Caroline Feilheim, presiding Bishop of the Gambia, the Methodist Church of the Gambia, is urging the faithful to put God first.
Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust consume, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consumes, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The question is, what does this mean for us today? The answer is at once challenging and inspiring. When we put ourselves first, we store up treasures on earth. We may get instant satisfaction for what we desire. We get what we want, and we get it now. But we find that such earthly riches do not truly satisfy us. Our lives may be full, but our souls are starving. Even while we look at our riches, they rot and rust. And in the end, when we move on from this life into eternity, we must leave it all behind, all our riches, for treasures stored in earth. That's what they are, not treasures stored in heaven. When we put God first, and when we put others first, we store up treasures in heaven.
The Most Reverend Hannah Caroline Feilheim there delivering her New Year's message. Delegates attending the high-level AU Peace and Security Council convergence were on Monday granted audience by the President, His Excellency Sheikh Professor Haji Dr. Yahya Jammeh, shortly after issuing two communiques. President Jammeh, who chairs the AU Peace and Security Council, urged the Council to sacrifice and respond swiftly to African matters, adding that foreign solutions cannot be relied upon in solving Africa's problems. Samuel Ba reports.
Delegation was at the seat of the presidency to brief the Gambian leader on the outcome of the extraordinary meeting, which culminated in the issuing of two communiques on the situation in Africa's newest nation, South Sudan and the Central African Republic. The meeting convened by President Jammeh is described as a landmark achievement that brings together African leaders with a view to finding a peaceful end to the conflicts raging in South Sudan and the Central African Republic.
Your Excellency, the Banjul meeting represented a major and a landmark achievement of your chairmanship of the Peace and Security Council. In just 1 month, and we were saying that we wish we had more than 1 month, then President Yahya would have definitely done much more than this. We have seen extraordinary arguments made, the special flight chartered, and the Navy, patrol boat from the Navy, put our disposal, all the resources we have put at our disposal to make sure that the meeting happened, and the meeting definitely happened, and we are now at the end of it.
The African Union's Commissioner for Peace and Security described developments in South Africa and the Central African Republic as worrying and a cause for concern for all. He commended the Gambian leader for continuing to take a leading role in conflict resolution on the continent. The AU Peace and Security Council has meanwhile called for an immediate end to the violence, while urging inclusive dialogue, the protection of civilian population in two countries, as well as access for humanitarian workers in both countries.
This meeting is really very timely, and it gave us, as Africa, who decided to bring African solutions to African problems, to come out with the decisions here that will really stand for the history.
So, Cameroonian Foreign Minister and that of Nigeria commended the Gambian leader for convening the extraordinary meeting at summit level during Christmas festivities, adding that citizens of South Sudan and Central African Republic are in dire need of help. The Vice President and Minister for Women's Affairs, Dr. Aissatou Njie Sedi, commended delegates for responding to the Gambian leader's call.
They really, I think, played their role today. All of them ensured that they put issues forward that will move our continental body forward with regards to peace and security in our region. We're also addressing the issues of Southern Sudan as well as the Central African Republic. Very fruitful meetings were held today, and very fruitful discussions and deliberations were put forward, and recommendations as well, to the extent that we came up with two communiques. And Your Excellency, I'm sure you and your colleagues would find both communiques very fruitful and very timely.
Earlier, the Gambian leader, His Excellency Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya A.J.J. Jammeh, described the conflicts raging in South Sudan and the Central African Republic as a sad moment for Africa. President Jammeh then called on the AU Peace and Security Council to sacrifice and respond swiftly on African matters rather than relying on foreign solutions in solving Africa's problems.
Everybody is looking up to what the new year is going to bring. And the people of South Sudan are wondering whether the New Year's Day will find them alive. This is unacceptable. The African Peace and Security Council is supposed to take lead in all conflicts. We don't have to wait until somebody decides, because the role of the African Peace and Security Council is to deal with situations, recommend to heads of state and the AU what actions we should take, so that if the chairman of the AU decides to convene an emergency summit, he would know what needs to be done based on the recommendation of the Security Council. Unfortunately, this council has been waiting for other councils outside to decide on the situation, and we start holding meetings based on outside decisions. If we have decided that we should find African solutions to African problems, then we should take the lead. It is not merely making speeches about it, But we have to be practical about it. And this is one example that